The main context that academic writers in film studies find themselves in is the journals they are writing in. There are many scholarly, peer-reviewed academic journals on the subject of film, and each of them will have various genres that authors can choose to write in. The genres of articles in film journals can consist of film reviews, film analyses, interviews of filmmakers, or discussions on trends and current events in the world of film. Another important context for the authors is their background. In the articles our group selected, all of the authors have graduate degrees or are graduate students in film studies. Their experience on the subject is in the academic world and not in the professional world of filmmakers. Because of this background, the common genre that most of the authors chose was a film analysis. Their main goal was not to do a movie review or to evaluate the quality of how good a movie is, but to discuss the themes present in a specific film and express their own unique interpretation of it. This context is important in understanding the next part of the author's rhetorical situation, which is the purpose. The purpose of an academic writer in the discourse community of film studies can be widely varied, and it is based on the context of different genres available to the writer. In our group's articles, the general purpose for the authors was to analyze a specific film, not necessarily to evaluate or review the quality of it, but to explain certain elements present in the film. The authors all have a background in film studies and film analysis, so because of this context, their purpose in their academic writing will be to give their own interpretation of films. Whether or not the genre of an article is an analysis or some other genre like a review, in the discourse community of film studies, the author's main purpose will be to give their own unique viewpoint, presenting a one-sided claim or argument. The reason for this purpose is because film is an art form. Film, like art, is not an objective discipline. It is subjective, meaning different people have different interpretations of art, and this is evident in the author's analyses of films. One example of these unique interpretations is Samara Alsop's article on the film Battle Royale. In the article, she discusses her viewpoint and argues that the film challenges the stereotypes of Japanese cultural and social roles in cinema, with its portrayal of violence. Another example is Andrew Young's article on the film Inception. His article focuses on various themes that are presented in the film, such as the space within dreams, architecture, and the idea of intruding into others' dreams. These various topics that writers in film studies discuss leads into the next rhetorical situation, the audience. The primary audience for academic writers in the discipline of film studies will most notably be other students or scholars in film studies, as well as filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers. However, the secondary audience is fairly important to note, since the discipline of film is interdisciplinary. In other words, the analysis of films can include discussions of subjects and disciplines beyond film. For example, Catherine Summerhay's article on the film Bedevil discusses the representation of Chinese and Aboriginal Australians' race and culture, and how it is important to the story of the film. She also references the French philosopher Michel Foucault, comparing his ideas to the story of the film. In Samara Alsop's article on Battle Royale, she focuses on the ideas of race, culture, and social roles of Japanese representation in cinema. And lastly, Andrew Young's article on the concepts present in Inception, like dreams and human behavior, are supported by references to psychologist Sigmund Freud and sociologist Emile Durkheim. Overall, whether a reader of these articles is in the discipline of film or not, the authors know that the reader will have some knowledge of other disciplines so they can understand the analysis. The articles are intended for the primary audience of those in the discipline of film studies, but readers outside of the discipline can still find relevance in them. This interdisciplinary nature of film studies is also a part of the persona that is present in academic works in film studies. The persona that most academic writers in film studies use is descriptive and informative, usage of imaginative word choice, film-specific language, and interdisciplinary language. Because of the context of discussing films, the author has to make sure that the reader understands what it is they are talking about, so it is common to give a summary or background of the film. Passive voice is the norm, and while the author's purpose is to give their own interpretation of the film, they do want to be somewhat objective in establishing an informative background of the film. In all of our group's articles, a brief summary of the film is given before the author expresses their claims and viewpoints. An example of imaginative word choice and film-specific language is in Peter Wilshire's article on the film Carnival of Souls. He describes Carnival of Souls as amateurish and including stilted performances, bad lip-syncing, clunky editing, and a few continuity errors. In this article, the purpose is more focused on reviewing rather than analyzing, so Wilshire makes the decision to use the slightly informal word choice of amateurish, as well as referring to technical aspects specific to film. Lastly, the language of academic writers in film studies is very interdisciplinary. In Andrew Young's article on Inception, he uses the words oneurological systems of the Freudian reflection of the subconscious. By using these terms and jargon that are specific to the field of psychology, he is using a persona that shows he is very informed of other disciplines and how they can relate to his film that he is analyzing.